In one of his numerous and characteristically powerful lectures, Alan Watts asks us to imagine what it would be like if we had the power to dream anything that we wished to dream. Absolutely anything at all. Further, Watts tells us to imagine that we were able to manipulate our experience of time while dreaming, such that we were able to experience an entire lifetime within our dream world in only 8 hours of sleeping. If you were granted this power, what would you do? Suppose perhaps that first you might wish to live out all of your wildest fantasies within the dream world. You could go on whatever fantastical adventures you might imagine, experience whatever ecstasies of pleasure and joy might seem alluring to you. Perhaps you would live out many lifetimes within your dreams as powerful rulers with whatever desires you wish at your command. But eventually, inevitably, this would start to become very dull and repetitive. Pleasure itself seems to demand contrast. Without being able to stand out from a background of boredom, pain, anxiety, or exhaustion, pleasurable things seem to amalgamate into an indistinguishable, homogeneously dull drone. Living lifetimes of pure ecstasy would become unbearably tiresome, as we would come to be anesthetized by their certainty and familiarity. So perhaps you would decide to make things more interesting in your dream worlds. You would devise obstacles to overcome, enemies to defeat, opponents to compete with, struggles to endure. This would certainly serve to keep things interesting and engaging, and perhaps you would even begin to add an element of uncertainty so as to keep yourself engaged. Perhaps you would begin to forfeit some of your godlike powers over the dream world, such that you were no longer guaranteed to be victorious against the struggles which you devised. Perhaps you would even begin allowing the dream itself some freedom in what sorts of challenges it would face you with. The game would become ever more exciting, and eventually, perhaps, you would devise a particularly clever trick in order to amplify things ever further. You decide to dream that you're a person who does not know that he is dreaming. You choose to allow yourself to forget that the dream world is in fact a dream, to allow the dream world to become immensely, perhaps even terrifyingly real, such that the power of the experiences could be all the more intense, such that the wings of one's soul could come to feel themselves unfurling in an ever more liberating way, not in spite of fear, pain, uncertainty, and anxiety, but precisely through fear, pain, uncertainty, and anxiety. With each night, you would come to challenge yourself ever more, trying to see just how far out you might go, to see just what extremes of tragedy and beauty you are capable of living out. Perhaps instead of living dream lives as great heroes or celebrities or famous geniuses, you would instead decide to live dream lives which may seem more mundane, superficially, in an effort to take in the full scope of possible experience, to experience the profundity and the power of things which are quiet, simple, fragile, and powerless. Eventually, were you to continue dreaming such dream lives each night, you would eventually, inevitably, find yourself right where you are now, listening to this recording of my voice on some strange technological apparatus called YouTube. After all, Alan Watts asks us, how do you know that's not what you are doing? What else would you do, after all, if you were God? In following along with Watts' narrative, I think that we are doing much more than simply engaging in an interesting thought experiment. There is, I believe, something deeply and cosmically profound which Watts' journey of imagination points us towards, something deep within the very beating heart of our existence, within the core of what it is to be anything at all. Through Watts' narrative, we can begin to see this mysterious something, however dimly, flickering like a point of light upon a distant, misty horizon. But I think that we can bring this distant point of light into better focus. In this narrative, what exactly is it that compels the dreamer? What exactly is the dreamer reaching for, which not only necessitates, but actually demands pain, fear, uncertainty, and forgetting? It would seem that within us there is a kind of primordial will. But through Watts' narrative, we can see that this fundamental will has a very specific kind of structure. It is a will unto experience, of course, but within that very notion of a will unto experience, we can begin to unravel a very intricate metaphysical architecture.